Hi, everyone. I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm welcoming Trevor Smith from the fifth installment of the FX anthology series Fargo to our TV production designers Meet the Experts panel. Trevor, in many ways, your work designing the production on this 10 installment Fargo was a case of going home again, wasn't it? You were there as an art director on the first season in 2014 that starred Billy Bob Thornton and Martin Freeman. In what ways would you say that your marching orders this time different from the ones you got a decade ago?
Yeah, it was a case, Ray, of sort of coming full circle for me. I had done the first installment of the series, which was very much a direct echo of the Coen Brothers original movie. A lot more referential and, like I said, a bit of a thematic echo chamber of things we saw there. And funny enough, in year five, which is the series I just designed, we also sort of revisit where we came from and sort of tighten up the Fargo circle to revisit themes directly from the Coen Brothers film again, and topographies and locales that are referenced directly in the movie as well. So there's almost a back to ground zero revisit for us as a Fargo family, and of course thematically as a series as well. So it was really cool for me to kind of close the loop personally and professionally, get back in step with Noah and build a series that speaks back to what I art directed and also continues to refer to and reverentially look at the Coen Brothers initial idea.
Yeah, it really was so cool. This installment really is an homage to the original 1996 film, that won Oscars for Frances McDormand and for the writing. How much did that film influence your build of an entire house for season five?
The movie, the original movie Fargo was a direct blueprint, literally and thematically for us on the show. We screen capped every scene in the movie, rebuilt the house from footage, and used that as our baseline to then build up from the needs of season five, which were a lot. So it was a heck of a project, and the first one we did out of the gate from a design standpoint to make sure that we, again, had these memories of the movie, and the story itself has some wonderful sort of direct references to it. The sliding doors, the break-in, the
Mhm.
stairs, the shower curtain, all sorts of wonderful and obvious sort of, I keep using the word echo, but it fits, echoes of the movie. But then the story itself, especially the first four episodes, has so much muscularity and action and so many needs, including, plot spoiler, fire and all sorts of things, that we had to take that original 1996 idea of a house, the Lundegards in that case, and in our case, the Lions, and then import all the physical needs, three stories of action and violence and suspense. So it was a heck of an undertaking to get the house right. And we built it, the interiors in studio, and then built the shell of the house on a location, on a vacant lot, believe it or not, on a perfect street, and matched as much as we could the insides and outsides of both those places.
I was going to say, God, uh, Trevor, just so much work to replicate the design, not just of the home, but all the artifacts inside it and everything else. Um, was Calgary, where you filmed, kind of an effective stand-in for Minnesota and North Dakota?
It was. We primarily base camped out of Calgary, Alberta, which is where I'm from and where we've shot four of the five seasons of Fargo. Um, so our mandate was to, we love a rule set, Noah Hawley and myself. So we like rules when it comes to the places and the cities in this particular series. So it was creating rules about, what does Scandia, Minnesota look like? What's our North Dakotan story? And, how do we showcase wealth, shifts in wealth and economy too? So we had, it's a combination of color and topography, tree types, and put all those things together into the mixer. So for what it's worth, the Lion House in Calgary, it was right downtown near the river. We built in this sort of beautiful heritage arts and crafts street that had really big elm trees that went over, because Halloween was such a big theme that I really wanted to get a lot of atmosphere and to make this house feel old and part of a neighborhood and upper middle class. And so, believe it or not, we scouted like crazy and found a lot that it was sort of frozen in development on the perfect street with the right vibe that gave us those spooky Halloween shadows. and leased the property from the homeowners and put our house in there with giant cottonwoods around it and everything. And then designed the exterior to feel a part of that street, so it didn't look out of place. So it had that really wonderful nestled quality that we all aspire to.
Seemingly kind of a significant Western design vibe running throughout this whole production, which I imagine was intentional.
It was, and it's really my sweet spot as a designer and as a cinephile too. The North Dakotan side of the equation, Roy Tillman, played by John Hamm, that side, our villainy side of the story, if you will, across the border, was very much in that Western frontier justice, alt-right sort of chamber of ideas. And we really got to put our cowboy on more than probably ever in the show. So we had a lot of fun with that. And that, again, meaning is differential. And between those two worlds, we could quite easily, with color schemes, design patterns, and topography, always make sure the audience knew instantly where they were, scene by scene. So you had a Minnesota feel, you had a North Dakotan feel, and sometimes you had nuances of that depending where you were on the highway. But we had, as I suggested, a really strong rule set so that we could follow that, and the audience always implicitly knew, even if it was hopefully mostly invisible, where they were and the associated themes and attitudes with those spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a familiarity to it, but really unsettling and kind of peculiar and off-kilter beats in each of the spaces you designed too. The Coens would have been proud of the things you came up with. It almost looked like they could have directed this thing. Did
I
it
would,
feel that way to you too? I mean, that you
it
were
did.
sort of it would that you were almost you were almost getting into their heads while you were working on this.
Yeah, I think referencing and paying homage to the Coens is inevitable when you're working on a series called Fargo. But I think we embrace it. We understand the pastiche of it, and why not lean on good bones when you can? And Noah Hawley and the writing team and myself, we love a good Easter egg. So we put lots of them in and reinterpreted old nuances and little set deck details and props from the whole Coen filmography. So it's like this fun sort of second viewing game for fans of the Coen brothers to go back through it, like the tracking device, that Gator uses to track Munch is, almost directly from No Country for Old Men, and so on and so forth. So there's just a million little teasers in there for those that want to look for them. And it's fun, actually. I think, yes, we're always making a fresh story, and Fargo 5 is completely an isolated, standalone, amazing thing. But nonetheless, you've got the history and you've got the ligature of all these other things. So you may as well use them and have fun with them.
Easter eggs, absolutely fantastic. Did they tell you to put Easter eggs in? Was that part of your marching orders?
Yeah, it was. I mean, maybe not an order as much as encouragement towards the playful, eccentric side of it. So Noah and myself as well, we really made a decision early on in this particular installment to um, work in peculiarity, and whatever elements we did put in. Yes, they're realistic, or I might argue hyper realistic to a certain extent. But what we did decorate with to do it strategically and not overdo it. And so there's a sparseness and a simplicity to it. So then when we do drizzle in fun cues and strange paintings in the background, um, they're there with intention and a bit of a tongue firmly planted in cheek sometimes. And I think Noah loves the idea that this universe collides, that there could be something that references season two, with alien spacecrafts in one of the paintings, if you look carefully, that kind of looks like a waffle, and so on and so forth. So there's this universe, this of Coen and Noah Hawley that pings around no matter what in each of the expressions.
Besides that original film, Trevor, it looked your cinematic influences on this looked like it could have been what John Carpenter's Halloween, The Nightmare Before Christmas. You're throwing a lot of stuff in there.
We are, yes. And I think we both realized more than we even thought. There's, of course, direct reference to the Tim Burton picture, and it's set around Halloween, a transitional time where we start to go from fallen leaves to snow. And that spooky home invasion factor is there. And yes, one of the many reasons I chose the street I did for the Lion House and the house design that I did was that I did want to reference John Carpenter's Halloween, which I might argue is sort of the baseline for all horror tropes we've experienced since. Um, and that was there with these big elm trees and the relationship and of the house neighbor to neighbor and across the street views. And I think we knew in our heart of hearts that there was something suspenseful, especially about the first 4 episodes. They're almost like their own mini narrative. But the more we got into it, shooting it with all the violence and the cat and mouse games in that house, we realized that, and the darkness of the colors we used, the cinematography, that we were making a horror movie. And it really does have so many feelings of horror in it, from Dot's perspective, from the invaders, and vice versa. There's a real dense suspense and fear quality to it all.
Absolutely, which I love. You infuse so much into this. I think we're going to wrap things there. Season 5 of Fargo is available to stream in its entirety on Hulu. Trevor Smith, good luck to you this Emmy season, and thanks for joining us at Gold Derby.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.